Welcome to episode 3 of Smitty's Endurance Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Smith. I'd like to welcome onto the show today Kyle Smith. Kyle is a 24-year-old professional triathlete from New Zealand. Kyle is the U23 Cross Triathlon World Champion and has most recently won the Rotorua Suffer Half Ironman against the top field. He also has several other half Ironman wins and has competed in World Triathlon draft legal events for a few years with hopes of qualifying for the upcoming Olympics. Kyle, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Dave. Pleasure to be here, and I'm stoked to kind of kick off the podcast here.
Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us. I think people will be really excited to hear about your story. So this weekend, you have another half Ironman, correct?
Yeah, I do. So this weekend's Tauranga Half, which is quite a prestigious half Ironman here in New Zealand. It's had some great athletes come and race, and last year it was my second ever half Ironman, and I managed to win and break the course record. So hopefully this year we can go a little bit quicker and hopefully get the course record again, and hopefully win to start off with. But so really looking forward to this weekend. It's such a cool course. If anyone's ever gets the chance to come out to New Zealand, it's probably one of the most picturesque kind of races I've ever done. You swim in the ocean and bike along the ocean side and run around Mount Maunganui, which is kind of an island peninsula out there in Tauranga.
Sounds awesome. So recently you won, and I may not be saying this correct, but is it the Rotorua? Is that how you say it, or?
No, that's great. Yeah, normally, people get that a little bit wrong, but no, that was perfect.
Okay. So sounds like that race went quite well for you. I kind of followed it, and it looked like a pretty challenging course.
Yeah. So again, another beautiful New Zealand course. It was kind of pain in paradise kind of situation. So we swam in the Blue Lakes out in Rotorua, and it's a crystal clear lake there, and it's just beautiful. And then kind of go onto the bike, and that's when it starts hurting. You climb straight out of transition, straight up a big hill, and it's kind of 5 minutes of a hard climb straight up. And then the chip in New Zealand's really, really tough, so it's kind of almost like riding kind of like gravel. But yeah, just a really rolly, hard, tough bike course. I really enjoyed it. It's just something that really suits me down to the T. And then kind of managed to have a really good ride and put some time into the guys chasing. And then the run it was an off-road run through the forest in Rotorua, and another super brutal run with a lot of elevation, kind of always either running uphill or downhill. And I'm a kind of a bigger guy, so I was kind of nervous about that one. I managed to run really well and kind of hold that gap for the lead, and was fortunate enough to take the win.
Yeah. Congratulations. Once I saw that result, I started doing a little bit of research, because I know I was looking for some different people to have on the show. And is that kind of the way you like to race? It seems like some of your best results have been kind of be with the group and lead in the swim, and then kind of take the bike and ride hard and have that little lead and hold on. Is that kind of your style, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's it wasn't never the intention when I kind of started out on this journey. So it was kind of 12 months ago, I did my first ever half Ironman, and that was in Taupo, my hometown. So it was just there. Basically, it was 70.3 Ironman branded. So I was there to give it a go. Managed to pick up a pro license and stuff like that. Wanted to just give it a go. In a hopes to qualify for what was going to be the 2020 World Champs, which was again in my hometown. So I was hoping to kind of give that one a go and then see what I could learn, and then hopefully go and race another race in the hopes of qualifying. And managed to do the race, and there's a couple of good athletes in there that I was kind of hoping to key off. A guy, Max Newman, that's very experienced on the half field, and I know he'd just come off a win, and so I thought, if I can take out the swim hard and kind of sit behind him on the bike and kind of get a feel for his pacing and how he does it, and then we'll kind of hold on the run. But I just managed to have a really good day and kind of took the race by the scruff of the neck and took out the swim hard, and Max came with me, and then got on the bike and kind of put the hammer down, and me and Max got away, and I ended up being the stronger rider of the day. I felt kind of got a 20-second gap coming into transition 2, and then I just kind of pinned my ears back and went for it on the run and managed to hold on. I think the biggest the gap got all day was 20 seconds, and then he brought it back down to 4, and then the home crowd in Taupo just got me home just to take the tape at the end. And then my second triathlon, the one that I'm doing this weekend, was 12 months ago. So Tauranga half, and that kind of happened the same. I just took out the swim really hard. I think I had a 2-minute lead out the swim, and then put my head down on the bike and then ran and kind of held on for the win. And then again, that's what happened in Rotorua. It was the same thing, just kind of swam hard, rode hard, and then just held the gap on the run. And it's kind of how it's worked out, but it's also kind of how I like to race.
Sure.
Things are dictated on my own terms then. I can ride at what pace that I kind of want to. I'm not being dragged along at something that's too hard, and then same on the run. It's kind of, if it starts getting a bit horrible at the end or the wheels are falling off, I've got a buffer then to kind of do things on my own terms instead of panicking and suffering and missing out on essential race things like nutrition or pacing or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, no, I've always really enjoyed watching racers who race aggressively. So Kyle, I was hoping maybe you could take us back a bit, talk us through a little bit about some of your youth years, maybe some of the sports you played growing up, and then eventually how you got into the sport of triathlon.
Sure, yeah. So I'm the youngest of 3 boys. So I've got 2 older brothers. My oldest brother, Aaron, was very competitive at motocross. So he did motocross and went really far, went to the world champs in motocross. And then my other brother, Ryan, he did horse riding. So 2 kind of polar opposite worlds. And then I was the 3rd child who kind of got juggled between the 2. And it was kind of, did I go with Dad and Aaron to motocross, or did I go with Mum and Ryan to horse riding? And I kind of got juggled around and did a bit of running and did a bit of swimming and stuff like that with my brothers and whatnot. And then so I kind of grew up doing a multitude of different sports, everything from horse riding to football to all that kind of stuff. And then I kind of went down the route of horse riding, and with horse riding in the winter, we took up a thing called triathlon, which is basically shooting at a target. It's like modern pentathlon, basically without the fencing. And then that eventually led into modern pentathlon. And then my family actually immigrated to New Zealand from England. So we kind of moved to Taupo, and it was the triathlon mecca of the nation. So I joined up the local triathlon squad and kind of took it to it like a fish in water. I went to the local swim squad and really enjoyed it. And then I did my first ever triathlon in Taupo, and I was 12 years old, rocked up. I was wearing cycling kit, these old running shoes that I'd bought bungee laces for the day before on like an old aluminium bike. I thought it was a give it a go kind of situation. And I ended up winning and kind of surprised everyone and ended up in the newspaper and stuff like that. And just from then I've been hooked and never really looked back, which has been such an amazing journey, and it's been very up and down as well. So that was my first triathlon, and there's a funny story to go with that. So that was my first triathlon. I was number 8, dare to give it a go, and my first ever half Ironman was also in Taupo, and I was number 8, dared to give it a go, and I won. So it's kind of when we kind of look back on that moment, we were kind of like, there's 2 photos side by side, and one's 12 years old, one's 22 years old, and it was a pretty cool story, really. And then I've had a bit of a kind of roller coaster, as I think every athlete has. I went through kind of teenage years, and as you know, stuff kind of changes. I was always really dedicated, but the results kind of came and went. In 2013, I managed to podium at age group worlds in London. So I was second to Gustav Eden. So and then 2014, I won the Aquathon World Championships, and then kind of 2015, 16 were 2 pretty challenging years in my kind of life. I moved out of home, I went flatting, and kind of went a bit too serious in the sporting domain. Moved to Cambridge to where I am now in the national program, but I was kind of 17, 18 and just took it way too seriously, did the standard overtraining, overtraining, under eating, and got really sick, and almost kind of put my hand up and said, this is too much, and I'm not really enjoying it anymore. And then, kind of, I did Xterra, Rotorua at the start of 2017, and I had a really bad ITU season. I just thought I need to do something different. I was always pretty good on the mountain bike, had a couple of weeks off. So I did Xterra New Zealand, and I got third, and I was like, oh, wow. First ever prize money I'd won, and managed to qualify me for AWI World Champs and also ITU World Champs in cross triathlon. So I thought, I'm at a crossroads in my life now. Do I go back to university, do that full time, do what my friends are doing kind of thing, or do I go all out in the sporting area? So I took a gap year from uni and went to Canada in the World Champs. And the day before I flew out, my mum said, Kyle, this is it really. Like, this is kind of do or die. And then, a week later, I was crowned world champion in the under 23 elite cross triathlon. And then I was also in that same race, third in the senior race. So that was kind of like a turning point, really. And then my dad was there and said, oh, this could be it, Kyle. This is, the Xterra stuff. It's, you're pretty good at it. And I kind of thought, I don't want to give up my dream of why I kind of started and why I was so addicted to the sport, was because I wanted to go to the Olympics. And so I didn't want to give that up. So I went back to, came back to Cambridge training with the ITU squad, and kind of all in for the Olympics, and had another kind of mixed bag of results. And 2018 was really good. I had a few World Cup top 10s, and I was looking really good. And then I got a stress fracture, and again, I got injured. So just that same old overtraining, under eating again, just in that kind of mindset of pursuit of trying to make it or break it, really. Which is then something that I learned was kind of, all right, you need to just take it easy and, just train smarter and not harder. And then I went, and then 2019, at the end of 2019, I had a good ITU season again. And then I got dropped from Triathlon New Zealand, and I kind of thought, what am I going to do here? And that's when I entered Taupo 70.3 and kind of dabbed my foot in the ITU and the long distance kind of stuff. And I've just really enjoyed it ever since. And in the 3 halves that I've done, I've managed to win and take the course record in them all. So it's been quite a good journey into that long distance domain. And I kind of think that's where I kind of see my future, going into long distance. But like it was with Xterra, I still want that Olympic dream to kind of happen.
Awesome. So where does that put you, in line for, next summer's Olympics? Will you have a shot at making the team, or?
Well, because in the last, so basically the selection policy is 24 months before the games, which takes us right to kind of Edmonton WTS in 2019. And I only really had world champs, which I had a good world champs, but it was in under 23, and I don't think the selection policy kind of takes that into consideration. And so basically it's a non-shot unless I can race some ITU races in the next couple months, and whether or not there'll be any because of obviously the coronavirus. So it's not looking likely for Tokyo. But I'm definitely not going to give up that dream. And there's Birmingham 2022, which is the Commonwealth Games, which I'll be looking to try and go for that. And there's also obviously Paris 2024. But me being me, I'm pretty ambitious. So I've got obviously my long distance goals and that kind of stuff. And I kind of hopefully will be I see myself as a person that can do everything, hopefully. So we'll just kind of be ambitious with it and see where it goes.
Yeah, awesome. So, Kyle, do you have a coach?
Yep. So my coach is Tim Brazier,
okay.
A really respected coach in New Zealand. He's part of the Fitter umbrella. So there's Bevan at Fitter and there's Tim. And then Tim's coached the New Zealand Olympic team. And then recently he's been coaching myself and Sam Ward and a plethora of other athletes that in both long course and ITU. And he's we kind of worked together through he was kind of the change in 2017. I kind of went with Tim, and he really took the time to understand me and really took the time to figure out what I was about and what worked for me and what didn't, what I enjoyed and what I didn't, and what I responded to. And it took a while. It took some experimentation, and then we've kind of figured out now kind of a recipe and a formula that really works for me. And we've got a really good partnership and a really good understanding of each other and what we expect of each other. So it's a really good partnership between me and Tim.
Now, is that the type of partnership where he's with you often, or is it more from remote location?
So he lives in the South Island of New Zealand. So he lives in Wanaka. So we catch up on the phone weekly, but we kind of only see each other face to face maybe a couple of times a year. And I try and get down to Wanaka a couple of times a year, just for like a training camp or just to kind of catch up on things. Obviously, you can kind of let things slip over a 6 month time, but I'm pretty. I'm someone who's internally driven. I don't really need to be told what. I don't need anyone there cracking the whip often, and so Tim sees everything I do anyway. Everything's on my running watch, on my bike computer, or at the swimming pool as well. So yeah, he can see everything remotely, and it's just something that we've kind of figured out and really works for us. And I'm really happy with how it's going.
Awesome. Kyle, so speaking of some of that, I mean, sometimes it's, you don't want to give away all your secrets, but could you go into your training a little bit just for, people out there who, are maybe focusing on the half Ironman distance and, maybe some of your training, and then, what are some things you see for that distance that are important from a training perspective?
Yeah, sure. So like I said before, when I was younger, I used to overtrain and try and do too much of everything. And it's quite easy to sit there at the start of a week or when you're planning it with a coach or whatever and say, I need a speed workout, I need a tempo workout, I need this. And I think the thing that's worked for me the most is just keeping it really simple. There's often days where I don't even have my bike computer or don't have my running watch, and I just go out and train. And I train. There's no secret. I train hard, but I also train super consistently. There's a mantra at the end of my bed here that says consistency over time. And that's just my ethos. There isn't one day that kind of stands out for me. It's not, I'm not looking at whatever day next week saying, oh, that's going to be my big day. It's just kind of every day works in with each day. But I think, just kind of everybody's different. And I've kind of realized that I'm a little bit of a diesel engine. So a little bit of a tractor. So, I've got a really big aerobic base. I got a big engine on me, but I don't really respond really well to kind of speed work per se. So doing 400s or 200s on the track running, or 1 minute is on the bike, just really fries me. So for the next couple of days after doing a session like that, I'm pretty useless. So I try and do those pretty few and far between, and kind of just work on kind of increasing my power and increasing my sustainable kind of effort that I can hold for a half Ironman. And I'm pretty honest with what I expect. So, my power on the bike or my pace running, I know what I want to race at, and I train to that, and I train so I can do that. And really, race day never really comes as a surprise to me because I've trained for it, and I have done it so often in training that it's what I've rehearsed. And when I line up on the start line, it's okay, I know what I'm going to do in the swim. I know what this feels like because I've done it a million times in training. When I go on the bike, I know that I can sit comfortably at this power because I've done it all these weeks and all these months in training. And when I go on the run, I know I can do it because that's what I've done in training, kind of thing. So I guess for me, for racing half Ironmans, definitely for me, I stay away from the speed work. So I stay away from, there's no need to be running super, super fast. It's just about building your engine slowly, day by day, week by week. so that when you get to the race, it's something that you can sustain for the whole 4, 5, 6 hours or whatever the distance of the race is going to be. And it's just about building that engine so then your body can get through the day, because there's no point in being able to run 3-minute Ks or whatever it is if you get to the run off the bike or you haven't been able to do the endurance work or the threshold work or whatever it is to be able to get there in good shape. So yeah, I'd say that's probably my secret, I guess.
Yeah, no, I love that. Two things you said, the one, just having that, predictable outcome because you've done so much of it. You're not turning up on race day, kind of guessing what type of pace and power you can put out. I love that. But then, also I think for age groupers, especially, I think a lot of people fail in the aspect of, not figuring out what works for them and just trying to, do a program that they see wherever or someone's telling them to do it. But it's awesome that you figured out what's worked for you. I think that's definitely a key to to this sport.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, it's taken a long time. Like it was never a quick thing that we've kind of stumbled across. It was more of a trial and error. But yeah, it's pretty simple, really. Like, I think a lot of people make the mistake of trying to make endurance sport complicated. They think secret formulas or whatever is going to work, but it's pretty simple. It's you build your engine as big as possible, and that can go for as long as possible. And you eat and you sleep and you train, and yeah, basically, if you're kind of doing the right work, and then it's not too complicated.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, keep it simple.
For sure.
So I'm sure over the years you've learned from, a lot of veteran triathletes, professionals, and so on. Could you share, maybe a couple different people that you've learned from and maybe some of the things that you've learned from them?
Yeah, I think like I say, like probably the most learning has come from myself. Back in the day, I used to kind of see what other people were doing and kind of go, oh, I need to be doing that too. But yeah, I think definitely it's about learning yourself. But there's been a couple of great athletes that I've trained with. I've had the fortune to train with Javier Gomez and Alistair Brownlee and those guys just for, a week at a time or a couple of days at a time. And yeah, I think it's just taking snippets from, there's so much stuff on social media now, like obviously listening to these podcasts and watching on YouTube. You go see Lionel and he's smashing himself on the trainer and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'd say it's probably Tim who's given me the most. My coach, he was the coach in London and in Rio for the games, and he's a pretty simple guy. You've got a pretty simple ethos. It's just do the work consistently. There's no outrageous days and there's no terrible days if you kind of look at it like that. And it's just about, doing the simple things right and just training and, just not overcomplicating things really.
Yeah. So it seems like with the way you race and just the things that you're saying, seems like, you're mentally quite strong. How did you develop that, or what are some of the strategies you use to, help you with the mental aspect of the sport of triathlon?
Yeah, it's quite a funny one, that, because I don't see myself as being extraordinary. I kind of just I see myself as quite a normal person, and I have all the issues that other people probably face in the world of sport as well. All the doubt and whatnot. But I guess the thing that has worked for me is the confidence side of it. Like it's a tried and true formula that, if you back yourself and you believe in yourself and you believe in your abilities, and it's kind of that goal setting thing, right? Like, if you set your goals and they're achievable and they're realistic and you set out a plan to work towards that, then you can kind of achieve whatever you want to achieve. And it's finding out what works for you and what works for your mind and what you're going to be motivated by. Because I think that's such a powerful thing, is the motivation. And I'd say that's probably my biggest mental toughness, is probably my motivation. You know, I'm motivated to every race that I do and to be the best athlete I can be. And that's such a powerful thing to have, is mentally, is just kind of have that drive and that determination that comes from your goals and your motivation, just so that you can just bowl down any barriers that kind of get in the way. And in racing, like, I just love racing and I love winning. And so when I'm in the kind of thick of it in the race and it's hurting, that's when I love it. And when I'm on the run and things are kind of tying up and I'm saying, you know, only 5Ks to go or 4Ks to go, and I can lift that tape up and I can feel that euphoria of winning the race, and that everything that comes with that, I think, is probably the biggest thing that I have mentally, instead of it being, I guess, like a SAS soldier or whatever. That mental attitude, I guess I'm just a kind of a normal guy, but I've got these lofty goals and ambitions that just motivate me to do these incredible things, I guess.
Yeah, no, I think anyone listening, you know, regardless of you know, what their life endeavor is, that those are some you know, some great things that they can utilize. You know, just that mental strength and being positive and believing in yourself. Those are all awesome.
For sure. And it's never going to be a smooth sailing road, and it's always going to be a roller coaster. And I think it's not how you respond when things are going really well that makes you mentally tough. And that's probably what everyone else sees out there, right? It's when I'm racing, or when other people are racing and they're winning races, I go, man, those people must be really mentally tough. But that's actually when it's the easiest, because you're winning a race, everything's going well, you're happy because you're doing all that. Sure, it's hurting, but hurting doesn't last forever. I'd say the mental toughness comes from when you get a door slammed in your face, or when you get beat down, or whatever it is, and you're at your lowest, and how you pick yourself back up from that, and how to find yourself when you pick back up from that. And I think the more and more it happens, the more and more you get good at picking yourself back up when it's tough. And I've had my fair share of knocks from my teenage years. I've had so many kind of sicknesses and injuries kind of inflicted from, like I say, that overtraining, under eating kind of scenario. And I had, you know, so much stuff go wrong that now when things go wrong, it's just a little ripple in the ocean, not a tsunami of a catastrophe, you know?
Yeah, awesome. So I want to switch gears just a little bit and talk about some of your equipment. So what are some of the equipment that you use? You know, bike, you know, goggles for swim, wetsuit, maybe your running stuff.
Yep. So I'm fortunate enough to be sponsored by a company called Teamline here in New Zealand, and they're the distributors for Hoob wetsuits. So yeah, I swim in Hoob, race in Hoob tri-suits, and basically my swim stuff's all Hoob. So I swim in the Hoob Varga goggles and the Hoob Agilis wetsuit. Bike, I don't have a bike sponsor, so it's kind of been a process of slowly acquiring nice bike stuff. So I used to have a Cervelo P3 that was given to me as a frame set, and I used to borrow parts from my road bike when I had to do time trialing or try like long distance racing. And yeah, then I literally, the week before Rotorua, a secondhand Scott Plasma came up on Facebook Marketplace, and I thought that's pretty cheap, so I'm going to buy it. So I ended up buying a Scott Plasma, and that's what I race Rotorua on. And then kind of slowly acquired, like, my girlfriend's a cyclist too, so she has the wheels, and so yeah, I use her wheels and this bike that I got from Marketplace, and it's been going pretty good. And then run wise, I'm sponsored by Asics. So Asics they give me free shoes, and so I run in the new Asics Meta Racer racing flat, which has a carbon plate in it. And that's kind of what I race in, and train in Asics Nova Blast shoes, which have worked really well for me. Yeah.
Geez, you keep leading these races on the bike. I just can't see you not getting a sponsor soon.
Yeah, it's quite tough. Hey, in New Zealand, we're such a small island nation that sponsorship's pretty obviously we've only got 5 million people living here, and our demographic for sponsorship's just so much lower. So yeah, hopefully one day kind of a big international company will kind of see my worth, and that's what I kind of just plan to do, is just keep doing what I'm doing and racing from the front, and then hopefully I'll kind of be recognized by somebody at least.
Right. So wanted to talk a little bit about nutrition and sleep and recovery. If you could talk to us a little bit about what you do in those aspects that help you from day to day.
Yeah, so again, pretty simple, really. I don't have any dietary. I just eat pretty normal. I eat pretty healthy, but I'd say only recently I've started eating more. I've kind of had this big thing around I probably haven't been eating enough, and kind of getting pretty lightheaded in training and just kind of pushing through it. And that's not the norm. And I guess I need to eat to fuel to train better. So yeah, I've just been kind of experimenting that within the last month, just eating a little bit more and just trying to fuel instead of kind of that focus on being super lean or being, at a certain weight or whatever it is. And that's actually been working really well. Like I've been feeling really good and my energy levels have been in a pretty good place. And then sleep, yeah, I sleep well. I try and get 8-9 hours a night. Just pretty simple stuff, really. I don't see a need to follow any special dietary requirements or anything like that. I like to eat and I eat what I like. And I think that's probably another key to performing. I think if you don't enjoy what you eat, and then everything comes a little bit harder.
Yeah. Awesome. So if we think about, the triathlon community globally, I've been in the sport for 14 years now, and I've been in a couple different parts of the country here in the U.S. and I've witnessed that it's quite inclusive community triathlon is. But what do you see that could be something that the sport as a whole could do better to help the sport grow even more?
I'd say maybe I'm trying to find the words here. Maybe the lack of the need for expensive equipment.
Okay.
I'd say that'd be just so much more appealing to the masses if, it's quite a daunting task when you say, "How I'm going to get into triathlon," and suddenly you've got to buy a really expensive wetsuit, a really expensive bike, and a set of running shoes. It can be quite a daunting task, but I think it doesn't have to be like that. Like I say, I raced my first half Ironman on basically a borrowed, begged and stole bike, basically. I think the bike total cost me about 500 New Zealand dollars to kind of build up. And it wasn't an amazing bike by any stretch of the imagination, but it did the job. And so I think if it can be promoted, and I think probably a more, you don't need a $15,000 super bike. You can actually do some pretty cool stuff on a bike there for less than $1,000, and probably total, around that price. And I think that'll probably be what makes it a little bit more inclusive to everyone to kind of get into. And I think, I think triathlon's is doing some great things though. I see quite a few of my friends now getting into triathlon that I went to school with who I thought would never kind of be into triathlon. And I was kind of a lone wolf in that respect. And now a lot of my friends at school are doing it. And so hopefully we're kind of more appealing to the masses now.
Yeah. Awesome. So, I know the next little, the next few months might be a little bit, hit or miss with some races, but what are some of your goals for the upcoming season?
Obviously in New Zealand, we're pretty fortunate to be racing right now. So I've got on Saturday, I'm racing Tauranga half, and then I'll do exterior Wellington, in our capital city. And then the week following that, I'll do Challenge Wanaka. And then kind of past that, haven't really made any plans because obviously it's kind of travel restricted, and we got to see what we can do around in that kind of space.
Mhm.
But definitely my goal will be to qualify for 7.3 Worlds, obviously in St. George. Try and qualify for the PTO World Championships in Daytona. So yeah, I think the season's looking like it'll be a New Zealand domestic season. Big question mark. I'll probably head to Europe over your guys' summer, our winter, just because racing's my only income at the moment. And last year without racing, I had to go back to kind of full-time work as a bricklayer to kind of afford to live. And so, yeah, I kind of can't really do that again. So I'm going to just kind of bite the bullet and head to Europe, and then hopefully come over to the United States and do some of those racing over there as well.
Yeah, awesome. So Kyle, just to kind of finish off, have some more rapid fire questions. And
Sure.
so the first one is, what is something that scares you?
Not achieving my potential.
Okay. Yeah, awesome. What about what is something you do for fun outside of the sport?
Van life. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. What's a recent book that you've read that you've really enjoyed?
I'd say my claim to fame would be that I read the book, The Mockingjay, the Hunger Games series before it was like mainstream.
Okay.
That was quite cool. But a recent book would be Legacy, which is like a book about the All Blacks and just about leadership and being humble, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. What about favorite training session?
Long run.
Least favorite training session?
Short running, anything that's short and speed work stuff.
Okay. And then lastly, what is your favorite race?
I'd say 70.3 Taupo was my favorite race so far. Yeah, home crowd. It was a pretty magical day. Like up there with, I still can't believe it happened.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
So, hey, just to finish, I know you already mentioned, a few sponsors that you have, but is there anybody else that you'd like to mention that's played a big role in, helping you progress throughout your triathlon career?
I'd say Trisport Taupo was key to all of this, really. It was the club that first got me into triathlon and have been so instrumental throughout this whole thing. They say it takes a community to raise a child. So I think, yeah, without Trisport Taupo, I wouldn't be sitting here having so far being able to do this as a sport. ASICs have kind of supported me from day one through a guy called Chris Horrocks. Has just he's probably saw my potential maybe as a 12, 13-year-old, and kind of has just thrown me free shoes from that day, really. And yeah, so hopefully as we kind of move together through this journey, hopefully we can kind of stay in that together. And then yeah, Teamline and Hoob as well, like they picked me up in 2017. I was their first ever ambassador, and things weren't going great, and they kind of believed in me, and yeah, never kind of even questioned anything when the going gets tough. And yeah, thankfully we're kind of here in this position now where we're helping each other out, and yeah, we're in a pretty good place. So, and then obviously I've got Cliff Bar as well, who've just come on board, and Noon Hydration, who've just come on board. So yeah, thanks to those guys, and of course thanks to my mum and dad. Yeah, literally they're pretty amazing people. They work bloody hard for what they've given us, and the opportunities that we've kind of had thanks to my mum and dad, and my two brothers as well. Just really it's been amazing.
Awesome. Well, Kyle, congratulations on all your successes. I talking with you here for the last half hour, I can certainly see you finishing at the top of the podium here for years to come. So best of luck
Thank
to
you so much.
And just hang on a second here once we get off, and we'll chat for another second.
No worries. Thank you.
Best of luck this weekend.
Thank you very much. Cheers for the chat.